Mr. Mayor, America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. It is good to see you, my friend.
Hello, Dave. Great to see you too.
Well, it's always great to see you. You are now a Floridian. You reminded me right before we connected, you do not live in New York City anymore. I thought you maybe were keeping your place there as you were moving everything down here, but you have already fled New York City. I think you heard my intro right there. Polymarket saying 92% to Mamdani, 8% chance for Cuomo. How do you, I guess just I'll give you the broadest question possible. I mean, how do you feel on this day? We're hours away from finding out the future of the city that we all loved.
I don't think I can describe it. I feel terribly depressed. I feel, to some extent, like people have said to me occasionally, in sympathy rather than in some kind of condemnation. They said, all the work you've done has been, they've reversed it. Between de Blasio, Adams tried a little, but was totally ineffective. And now what this guy is promising, it's as if I was never mayor, Bloomberg was never mayor, and we never had maybe the best 20 years in our history. I mean, I remember New York City in 1998 being on the front cover of Time magazine as the resurgence of urban America, after having been on the cover in 1990 as the rotting of the Big Apple. I mean, I remember the 7-year turnaround. I mean, I guided it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't magic. It was just very, very solid, practical policies. And something very important to this, honesty. New York City has been a corrupt democratic machine for most of 170 years, with a few interruptions where a Republican occasionally wins or an independent. Like, I was the third Republican elected in the 20th century. In the 19th century, New York didn't vote for Lincoln. Boss Tweed is from New York. So we have been plagued with a thoroughly dishonest government almost consistently in our history, and still emerged as the greatest city in the world. To be burdened now with socialism, and there's another part of him that's maybe even more dangerous, Islamic extremism. He is a very enthusiastic supporter of Islamics who are dedicated to killing us. I mean, that's remarkable. The socialism we might be able to work around. A lot of it's got to get the approval of the state legislature. Trump can cut off and defund a lot of it, and I think he'll be voted out. So I am worried about him on the socialist side, but I'm more worried about him on the part that isn't emphasized as much. I've never seen anybody as enthusiastically support Islamic terrorism as he does. The imam that he was with a week or two ago, I know him from when I was U.S. attorney. He has such a long history. He is officially considered an enemy of the United States.
Right. He was a non-indicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. His own imam. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been a witness for Islamic terrorists. He's been very close to being indicted several times, and I think he's under constant surveillance. So his association with him will make it impossible for him to get a security clearance. There's no way that they'll give him a security clearance. He will not know the things you need to know to protect the people of New York. They're going to have to work something out with the police department or something if he gets elected.
What does this all tell you about the changing electorate of New York City? Meaning that people saw, a decade that was pretty good under Ed Koch in the 80s. Then they go the other way with Dinkins, and he in essence was a Democrat socialist. He's the one that largely destroyed the city, that led to Rudy Giuliani. You cleaned it up. I remember that vividly. As you know, I grew up in the suburbs, but I had grandparents and great-grandparents and cousins in New York City. We basically didn't go to the city those Dinkin years. They would come to us, but then we could go back in when you took over. But right now, it seems like they're just going with all of the wrong ideas. What does that tell you about the average New Yorker? When we think of the New Yorker that's out there, dropping the F-bomb every other word and doesn't, and is like, that cares, the stereotypical New Yorker, is he just gone now?
No, yes, to some extent, yes. There's no doubt the makeup of the city has changed pretty significantly from when I was mayor. But the worst part about New York is apathy. I mean, the worst part is New Yorkers take it for granted. They take it for granted they're the greatest city in the world and it'll always work out. The turnout today is likely to be the highest turnout since I ran against Dinkins. Since those races, all through the Bloomberg years, they went down and down and down. I think we were at 29 or 30% when we reelected de Blasio. That's absurd. And a lot of the people that stay home are the non-ideological people that would reject the incredible lack of common sense in the left-wing agenda. Free buses. Well, who the hell is going to pay for them? Yep. Free grocery stores. Who's going to pay for them? Tax the rich. Well, eventually you'll have nobody to tax. Yep. And if we're not there, we're pretty close to it. I know the budget of New York City. I had to memorize it. I had to spend more time on the budget than crime. The budget of New York City is a complete disaster. The one thing Adams didn't fix at all is the budget. In fact, a lot of the reasons for his investigations are that these contracts will cost him 2 and 3 times more in New York than elsewhere, which creates a suspicion that New York was operating, as it has in most of its 170 years, with kickbacks. And there's no question that Mamdani, whether he does it or not, he's so incompetent, among other things, the city will become even more crooked. They'll steal everything from under his nose, or he'll be complicit in it.
Right. Well, the only good moment, it seems to me, that Cuomo has had in this entire candidacy or this entire run has been at the debate, a week and a half ago, where he finally called out Mamdani for just being flatly unqualified, if nothing else. But I want to read this post that Donald Trump put on Truth Social because it references something that you just said. He wrote, "If communist candidate Zohran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds other than the very minimum as required to my beloved first home because of the fact that, as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm, and I don't want to send as president good money after bad. It is my obligation to run the nation, and it is my strong conviction that New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mamdani win. His principles have been tested for over 1,000 years, and never once have they been successful. I would much rather see a Democrat who has a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. He was nothing as an assemblyman, ranked at the bottom of the class, and as mayor of potentially, again, the greatest city in the world, he has no chance to bring it back to its former glory. We must also remember this: a vote for Curtis Sliwa, who looks much better without the beret, is a vote for Mamdani. Whether you personally like Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not. Now, the interesting part of that is, if I'm not mistaken, you are supporting Curtis Sliwa, correct?
Yes, I agree with the president on most of it. I disagree with him on Andrew Cuomo. I think Andrew Cuomo is the mistake the Republican Party has made very, very often. In fact, if we had continued that mistake, we wouldn't have Donald Trump. I mean, we got beaten with Barry Goldwater, but we didn't give up our principles. We didn't go endorse Democrats from then on. We elected some Republicans, we lost, but we stuck to our main principles: smaller government, active military, large military, and then we got Donald Trump. For us to build, the most critical thing is for us to build an alternative party in New York. Even before Mamdani, New York is a socialist, communist state. Its judiciary in the city of New York is pretty close to entirely corrupt politically. You saw that with the Trump trials. I can show you 100 examples of that, including my own. And I've been practicing law in New York for 50 years. And the New York Supreme Court has been basically run by the bosses of the Democratic Party for all of those 50 years. I can go on and on. The real core problem in New York City is you have to have an honest alternative to the Democrats. Cuomo will get us halfway there. Mamdani may take us there faster. And there's no guarantee that Cuomo won't cave. Cuomo is the author of all the reasons why we have more crime. There are 48 cop killers on the street because he changed the parole laws. There are about 5,000 to 7,000 criminals walking the street that would be in jail if I were mayor or Bloomberg. They're out because of Cuomo signing the law to do it. Cuomo signed the law to kill babies in the womb up to 9 months, just as they're coming out.
And the COVID disaster and having to step down in a sex scandal, all of that. So I don't think anyone watching this has any love lost for Andrew Cuomo. But what would you say to the person that would say, Rudy, if Sliwa takes 10 or 12%, of the vote, that will ensure the Mamdani win, where in essence he has no real chance of winning. Cuomo is now only, seemingly within a couple points. I mean, what's your counter argument to that? Because I get it on the idea level, but at a pure political level,
Cuomo is not enough of a difference to abandon the party. Because if we abandon the party and we get used to that, and we do it too often in New York, we'll have no party. When people say, where's the Republican Party in New York? Well, if you run away from your candidate for mayor, you know what happens to the down ticket? We'll have nobody in the city council. So you got to make a choice. If Cuomo were a better Democrat, if I could justify to my conscience voting for him, I would. I thought about it, talked about it, have gotten a lot of pressure to do it. As a matter of conscience, I can't vote for a man that I know was responsible for killing so many people. I cannot vote for a man who became an extreme left-wing destroyer of New York as governor because he thought he was going to run for president. All of the criminal laws that Adams is operating under that are destroying New York and a lot of the country, he signed them, claiming he was a moderate Democrat, but sucking up to the crazy socialist left wing of his party. He'll do it again.
Yeah, I
if
get
he
it.
Sees it. And it'll just take us a longer time to get there.
Yeah, it's a terrible choice for everybody. I know you've been a long day of media hits today, so but I just do want to do one or two more things with you, because I want to talk about the media component as it relates to all of this. And you know probably better than anybody except for Donald Trump himself the way the media lies about things. I want to show you this clip. I don't know if you saw it. This was CNN yesterday. They had Zohran on with Erin Burnett, and listen to the lie here. It's rather extraordinary, and then we'll show you the complete clip.
Donald Trump is threatened by our campaign. He's threatened by it because, like his, we've diagnosed the crisis in working class New Yorkers' lives, the cost of living. But unlike him, we're actually going to deliver on that. And that is a contrast that he can't bear to see. Because while he is spending $300 million remodeling a White House ballroom, the same amount of money that could provide SNAP benefits for 100,000 New Yorkers, he's trying to make it harder for Americans across the country to actually afford groceries. And this money that we're talking about, it's money that New York City is owed. It's not Donald Trump's to decide which city or state will get what money. This is the money that New Yorkers are owed, and this is the money that we're going to fight for.
Mr. Mayor, did you catch the lie there? He says that Donald Trump is spending $300 million on a ballroom. Now, first off, it's all private donors. All.
Yes,
I double-checked it this morning. And then he says this is money that New York City is owed. It is a complete fabrication, but I'm not even annoyed with him. He's a liar. We all get it. He's a snake oil salesman. I'm annoyed at Erin Burnett because here is her response, or I should say lack thereof.
This is the money that New Yorkers are owed, and this is the money that we're going to fight for.
Okay, so Trump is not the only one talking about you tonight. Elon Musk is actually talking about you.
What a pair.
And obviously Musk had supported him.
Yeah, okay. You just lied to my face. What do you make of that level of lying with the media, that she knows he's lying and they simply do not care?
In some ways, even worse than Mamdani. It makes Mamdani possible. She's completely corrupt. The question was an obvious one, no matter what your prejudice is. Mr. Mamdani, it's known to everyone that this is being done with private money, so it's not costing the taxpayers anything. And also, the president doesn't owe New York City anything. Right. There were all kinds of rules and regulations surrounding this money, and everyone knows New York City is the most corrupt city in the world. So of course, the federal government's going to have to hold up money. I mean, when I was U.S. attorney in New York, there probably wasn't a government program from the Great Society that wasn't corrupt. It's the reason I changed parties way back in 1970. I saw the Great Society. I thought this was wonderful. The first thing I'm investigating, half the money is going to Democratic crooks. And that is true throughout. Why did they spend more money on aliens? They spent more money on aliens so they could have a little overage for kickbacks. Just go look at the contracts. New York City, with 8 million people, has the same budget as Florida with 22 million people. What do you think the difference is? Corruption.
Yeah.
And of course, the president has to stop that. The Constitution says he has to make sure the laws are faithfully executed. If he didn't do it, he could be impeached. So the man is, among other things, highly unqualified. If he were a Republican conservative, they shouldn't make him mayor. He's highly unqualified. He's a child he's a rich boy who's never had a job, probably never paid attention in school, doesn't seem to have much of an intellect, and he's completely unqualified for maybe, I don't know if it's the second most difficult job in America, certainly one of the 10 most difficult. and requires, even at a minimum, a person of reasonable intellect and integrity.
Let me play one more clip, and then I know you got to get going here, because you mentioned, or you have fled New York City. You mentioned the amount of people that will flee, and they are planning to come after those people. Watch this.
I've proposed is that we raise $10 billion to pay for our entire economic agenda and start to Trump-proof our city, because we know he'll use federal funding as leverage over this city. And we will do so in two key ways. The first is to match the state's top corporate tax rate to that of New Jersey. We are at 7.25%. They're at 11.5%. Corporations can pay it over there. They can pay it over here. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't just apply to corporations headquartered in New York City. Because when you say this, people will say, well, they're going to go to Florida. Mm-hmm. Wherever you are headquartered, as long as you do business in the state of New York, you are taxable for that corporate tax. We're talking about corporations that are making millions of dollars, not in revenue, but in profit. And the second is taxing the top 1% of New Yorkers. We're talking about people who make $1 million a year or more, taxing them just by a flat 2% tax increase. And I know if 50 Cent is listening, he's not going to be happy about this. Mm-hmm. He tends to not like this tax policy, but I want to be very clear. This is about $20,000 a year. It's a rounding error. And all of these things together, they make every New Yorker's life better, including those who are actually getting taxed.
It's just evil, Mr. Mayor. I don't even know what to say. And he does it with a smile while he's trying to tax the high hell out of everybody, and that he will come after you even if you are actually not headquartered in New York City. I'll give you the last word here.
Well, first of all, it could very well be unconstitutional. And of course, those people have the resources to challenge it. And second, he's going to lose everybody. New York and New Jersey and California are in a race for who loses the most people. Some years it's New Jersey per capita. Some years it's California. Some years it's New York. It's any guess as to who's going to win this year. I think New York will, because of the fear of him. I live here in Florida. You live here in Florida. The best business to be in is the real estate business, a real estate agent. It's hard to get one. They're so busy, and many of them are coming from New York. The flight was terrible before him. I mean, it was a problem for Adams that he wasn't solving. It's intensified tremendously now. So I don't know who he thinks he's going to have to tax. I mean, I faced this with Dinkins. I mean, we had the highest tax rates, even higher than now. We had 2,000 murders a year as opposed to 400 that we have now. And I was afraid there'd be no city left. I mean, we hadn't had a new Fortune 500 company in 15 years. We were down to 6 million people coming to Broadway. We got it up to 18. I mean, the man obviously is a committed communist, not a socialist. He's a committed communist. And as I say, the thing to emphasize about him is that frightens me more than anything else. New York City is the #1 target of Islamic terrorism in America. New York is the city that's been victimized most by Islamic terrorism of any American city. When I was mayor, I can't tell you how often we were on alert. We got warnings. One time I came very close to having to stop a New Year's Eve celebration because of Islamic terrorism. And of course, we were hit by it very, very hard. And here we have a sympathizer with Islamic extremism. Now, you take the Quran and you divide it into the good Muhammad and the evil Muhammad. And some Muslims, most hopefully follow the good Muhammad and they cut the Quran off. But some of them follow the evil Muhammad. Well, he supports all the people that follow the evil Muhammad. And our city is their big target. And I just can't escape the thought that they're putting them in there. I'm sorry. I cannot escape the thought that they're trying to put this guy in there because they wanted New York City. They wanted to hit New York City again. I developed a tremendous anti-terror program. Bloomberg and Kelly made it even better. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many attacks didn't happen, particularly after September 11th. Even before, there's at least a dozen that we stopped. Remember, it started in '93 for us. Mm-hmm. And this guy is close friends. He calls that imam one of the great leaders of the Islamic community. He is a absolute advocate of Islamic terrorism.
I mean, he refuses to condemn, globalize the Intifada. Mr. Mayor, in 30 seconds, is there any chance that at the end of today, we will both be smiling?
Yes, there's a chance. And, there is a chance because the things he said and the things he's done are extraordinary. So I've seen elections in New York off by, well, my first election, I was behind by 12. I lost by 1. My second election, I was down by 6. I won by 2.5. My third election was a landslide. Thank God, it was much easier on me. But I've rarely seen an election in New York where I don't think I've seen one where the polling is correct. Now, is it enough? Is it enough? I don't know. And then, as I tell you, if Cuomo is the mayor, I probably will breathe a little sigh of relief, but that'll last about 15 minutes, because by the time he's finished with New York, it'll be 3/4 of the way further.
The fact that he's the saving grace here is just so crazy, Mr. Mayor.
I actually have great admiration for the president doing this, even though I think he's wrong, because it would be in his interest for Zandami to get elected. He virtually assures the Congress for us. I mean, I remember in 2010 when we won the Congress with Pelosi, before we just ran against Pelosi and won the Congress. Oh, we run against him in North Carolina. What do you think is going to happen there?
Right. Well, it's just such a crazy thing to think about, that in a weird way, him winning causes the Republicans to keep the House, because everything, oh God, politics is insane. Mr. Mayor, I am honored to call you a friend. And
you are terrific.
Well,
you are one of the very, very best. And there are a whole bunch of other things we should talk about, because I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yes, there's some other things that we should talk about, right? Exactly. Well, we will do that over dinner somewhere here in the free state of Florida. Thank you, my friend, and let's pray for New York.
Thanks, Dave.
If you're craving more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics, check out our politics playlist right here. And if you don't want to miss any future videos, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.